All right, so we are getting ready to go live, and I am going to just basically testing this to make sure that the sound is working. So our guest is going to be walking in shortly, and this is definitely not the usual setup, but because I came in to interview Svetlana today, we're going to do this live. The edited version is going to come on later. And I really, really hope that you enjoy this discussion, because I've been excited about it for quite some time, and it is truly going to be exciting. So let me go ahead and tweet out to everybody where they can find it, this chat. And if you can share, if you're watching this and you can share how to find this, that would be helpful too. And yeah, we'll just go live in a second. So it's always exciting here at the beginning, isn't it? Yes. All right. You'll see me straightening out my hair. And here we go. All right. She's going to be walking in just a moment. I'm doing things a little bit of a different way. All right. Hope everyone's having a good day.
Hi.
Hey, all right. No, this is exciting. I can't wait.
Where do I go?
Oh,
Here.
go ahead and sit here. Yep.
Like you guys are always so like flawless.
Are you kidding? No. Oh, no. We'll have to talk about that later. So we're getting set up here. I haven't hit broadcast yet.
Okay.
But, how do I pronounce your last name?
It's Legetic.
Legetic.
Serbian.
Okay.
So Serbian.
Like
the most obviously like Serbian last name.
I was like saying Legetic. And
No, that's what everyone says.
Yeah, so it's Legetic.
But yeah, like
Legetic.
you would say leg. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to try to remember that. But
yeah. And also, you know, if you say it incorrectly, I don't care.
You're not going to correct me.
No.
Like happens so often.
No, I mean I have done like phonetic spellings for people before they announce me like 1,000 times, and then it's still like Legetic.
Yes.
Legetic.
Yes. Well,
Like,
Italian, and you know what? With Kiki, for whatever reason, which is key, you literally only have to get one part, just to sound right.
Is, I think, like open to interpretation.
Yeah, sure. And it's kind of exciting, right? Yeah. Like, all right. So we're going to get ready to go. I am so excited about this. First of all,
I'm wildly unprepared, but I think I can talk about anything, right? So it's going to be great.
I mean, I think it's going to be awesome. And really, it's a chance for me to just get to know you better, because I've just kind of seen, of course, from afar, and we know a lot of the same people. So I was like, you know, I feel like I know you, but want to know you better. And then you don't do a lot of interviews. Like you conduct interviews, but you actually...
Yeah, I mean, we kind of go through like ebbs and flows. I feel like last year, because we were launching some of the festivals,
yeah,
and it was like once you've been doing something for a long time.
Yeah. I feel like you're sort of like mysterious. Because, yes. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this.
That's about to be dispelled.
No.
Like,
No, I'm so excited about it.
If anything,
okay.
Like a deep overshare of myself.
All right. So we're gonna go live here. All right, so we are live, and I'm going to edit this later, but people do tune in and they kind of watch live, and then usually they listen to it later. Some of them watch it, yay. But before we get started, let me go ahead and share support for this show comes from Boulder Strategic Consulting. You can drive your business strategy with a digital plan that unites and engages your team. Boulder Strategic Consulting can bridge the gap between your technology and marketing departments. You need insights to inspire business transformation. Boulder will empower you to thrive in a digital world. You don't have to stress out about your digital transformation projects anymore. Let Boulder Strategic Consulting come in and help you and your team reach success. Find out more at boulderstrategy.com. That's BOLDR strategy.com. Okay, so Svetlana Legetic. Okay, thank you. Legetic. I'm going to practice this.
Once you learn it, but
I'm going to read a little intro, and then I have just so many questions to ask.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
Hopefully I provide answers.
So Svetlana Legetic is the co-founder of Brightest Young Things, now BYT Media, Inc., a collective of content makers, culture curators, event planners, and creative marketing strategists. For over a decade now, they've produced a legitimately cool and useful online and offline presence in DC, New York City, and Chicago. They work with amazing individuals, institutions, and brands to build loyalty, start conversations, and create memories 365, 24/7. And by the way, GQ magazine named Legetic one of the 50 most powerful people in DC. So why we're here today is to find out more about BYT, and also you had a new.
We have a new addition. So some of the stuff that is listed there now lives under a separate little umbrella.
Yes.
Our shiny little agency is called
Exactly.
Exactly.
And so we're going to talk about that
because it's exactly what's been missing.
I love it. The thing is that I listened to your Creative Mornings talk, which was fantastic. And the thing that I found most compelling was this story of how it all started, the genesis of where this is now. Because what you're doing right now, after over 12 years, has continued to grow and expand, and it's been successful. And you've had hit after hit after hit of success with your events, right? And it's remarkable because in the meetings world, there are event planners who study and plan and prepare to go into the event space, and they never get to a point where they achieve what you've achieved. And yet this started with a MySpace page, right? Okay, so take me through the beginning. Can you talk to me about how this started?
Yeah, so I moved to DC. My education is in architecture, which I think kind of lends itself well to what we do, because mainly people that end up studying it are the kind of people that are interested in everything.
Yeah.
And that's like something you're going to find out about me. I'm interested in everything. And I moved here for a job, like people do, and I was young, and I kind of felt at the time, this is like 2006, that there wasn't really like anything I was personally relating to that was telling me what was going on in the city. The internet obviously existed, but it existed in this very kind of snarky, clickbaity sort of information tidbits kind of way, where it's like the traditional media was trustworthy, but like it wasn't relatable to me as a person at the time in any way. And so we were like, what could we, like, just, I went to art school and I was very like, projects. Let's have a fun project.
Yeah.
Like it will be art. And so I just started out taking photos at like shows or weird little gallery openings, etc., that I went to, and we started, I started posting them on my MySpace blog because that's what blogs were on at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it became weirdly popular, which like was kind of uncomfortable because it was my personal something. So
right. People found this. I mean,
because people were in the photos, right?
Yeah.
And I think like just kind of organically, people like told people that, oh, you're in this, check it out, or like you're in whatever. So, it's kind of like a mini kind of grassroots network behind it. And so I moved it to a WordPress and or a blogspot, I think. And this is really like the crux of the idea, is that then I felt it was sort of unfair to post photos of things that people didn't get a chance to go to, because that felt sort of rude.
Like, look at how much fun we had,
and you missed it.
You missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we added like a community calendar where people could just post their stuff.
Yeah.
And that thing like truly like exploded to some extent, like weirdly, like, you know, hundreds of people and institutions posting, and we kind of like then started writing like little recommendations, you know, for movies or restaurants or, you know, shows or whatever else, and it kind of just like evolved organically into, I guess, sort of a things to do lifestyle blog, which has since obviously evolved in many other ways, because obviously the way one lives life has changed.
Yes.
Since 2006 or 7. And then we sort of, a couple of years in, maybe a year or two in, we're kind of dipping our toes into like smaller events and things like that, kind of just like trying to engage with these people who like obviously trusted us, because like the organic, again, you know, for a moment there, it was very much like you move to the town and people are like, what should I follow? What should I read? And, you know, subscribe to the VT, weekend guides, you know.
Right.
So you can't just be friends with people on the internet, you know, the kind of itch needed to be scratched to like interact with them in real life. And we didn't want to do anything that would compete with the things we write. So like everything we're doing is just like, we're so nice, right? We don't want to.
Well, and this is something that
it's very positive.
I
so
mean,
it's a very positive presence.
That has to have been hard. Like, did you get pushback? Were people like, go make money this way, go make money that way?
No, because I don't think anyone like actually thought that we were ever going to make it. I think everyone was like, oh, I mean, we'll tolerate whatever's happening here. I don't think anyone saw us definitely as like a threat or even understood what was going on.
So you're flying under the radar kind of.
And I mean, the word like, I mean, all these words that now have kind of even like gotten overused, but like, I mean, the word millennial didn't exist, you know, we kept trying to have these conversations with people and we were like, but what is this audience? And I'm like, well, you can't ignore it. The audience is me and you know, the people that are here. And you know, you can't guarantee that this audience is going to like turn to page, you know, like 34 of this like Alternative Weekly or like of the Washington Post Metro section to catch your thing. Like you have to actually be engaging them like in different ways. You have to consider it. And so the plan we kind of came up with was that we certainly had like a proven track record. You know, people knew that if we talk about something or list something or cover something, definitely there is this like massive influx of you know, relatively young people that show up to it because they trust us. So we were like, what if we create like basically large scale, high impact, unmissable events, right? Mm-hmm. And we utilize some of the DC resources, right? Whether it's institutions or spaces or whatever, to create those and basically pitch them to the institutions as a beginning of a conversation with this audience. So once they see the audience, they'll understand who the audience is, right? Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And they will recognize that this is who they need, because if you think about it, right? The number one problem kind of legacy cultural institutions face is that they, like, you know, the subscribers, the donors, they're all aging out.
Right.
And how are you educating that new generation of people? So they're very, like the events themselves were very content driven, right? So like they yes, it's a party, but it also is, you know, National Geographic speakers in the auditorium and like tours and like weird kind of nerdy stuff and food and drink. And, you know, you'll have like the best bars in DC, like making cocktails inspired by exhibitions or different things. So it's meant to be kind of truly like almost like a trailer with a snapshot of like an idea of what both BYT and our partners stand for.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you start there? I mean, when you go in, say somebody comes in and like I'm coming in. The concept or this idea of what the intention is. Or what
I mean, it is like a very, you know, labor intensive kind of, I would say, strategy process.
Yeah.
Because there's no formula, right? Like the second there is a formula, the audience will see through it.
Right. Yes.
And will stop showing up for it.
So I was gonna ask, like, what is it?
It has to seem like we're really trying.
So that means you have to try, right?
Yeah, so we are actually really trying all the time. So, yeah, I mean, we actually work very closely, you know, with the museum curators, with the programming teams, with, you know, like it's often the only time that like true cross-departmental like collaborations happen. You know, we always try to get like rare artifacts out of like the archives. We try to like, you know, engage, you know, the experts that live there that maybe don't have chances to interact with the public, to do different stuff. We try to obviously provide content that comes out of it that allows it to live beyond just that event, as well, whether it's like photos or video or interviews or, you know, any number of things, right? Like at this point, it's limitless. And then we try to also kind of never talk down to the audience.
Yeah.
Right? So the goal is that, you know, 12 years ago, there was maybe not enough things to do. Now there's too many things to do, plus like sitting on your couch.
Right.
At
Which
home
is
like very tempting.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, if you talk to actually people say, oh, we don't, like, yes, we compete with the other cultural entertainment options, but really the biggest competition is the fact that like it's so easy to stay home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what, you know, in this day and age
can compel people.
And so it truly has to, you know, what we have noticed is it has to be something that's worth of a story, right? Like, so, and hopefully like once you have a good story, then you hope the next time you'll have a good story. That's how you build like a loyal like following. But
what do you look for that would constitute a good story? Like, how do you know when you found it?
I mean, so we come obviously from the perspective of press originally, and we get pitched things 24/7. And I do think that we build them kind of to be not able to be ignored, right?
Right.
Like,
right.
Like oftentimes people are like, but how is BYT is a media company, but you get all this coverage and like all these other magazines, and all, you know, like Washington Post is going to include it in the Weekend Guide and all this other stuff. And it's I'm like, because it isn't about like a marketing scheme for like a media company. It is like a genuinely high quality content product.
Right.
That like is something very special that can only happen in this place, in this moment, on this occasion. So, and for us, we obviously have like a very loyal audience that is kind of bad to things, but at the same time, for each next project, whether it is, you know, about space or ancient Egypt or comedy or true crime or whatever, we do approach it as if we also need to kind of reach a special, like, hyper targeted micro audience for that as well. So you can't really like rely on the same pool of people, but that's how your list grow and everything.
How do you find the right people to be on your team? And you know, I have so many questions about the business side of it, because all along the way,
people are constantly being like, so, but how do you like live?
When you expand and things like that, you have to decide, you know, what's too much, or, you know, when can you bring on
so BYT is completely independent. We've never taken like an investor or anything of that sort, not because it's not like up for consideration necessarily, but because it's just like the right partner has not come along, and we would rather do it the way we want to do it and stay independent and compromise some of the things that we believe in. And I do think, I mean, the model is relatively simple, right? Like there's advertising, there's like events, which is ticketing and sponsorships. And then obviously the agency, right? Like we have capabilities and skills, and we can rent our brain, like, you know, and spend some time with it if you're interested, and see where that takes you, you know, down the path. But yeah, I mean, the what I always kind of say is like it had to be successful because there was like no plan B.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, you're going to museums and nonprofits and institutions, and every single one of these things sounds like a terrible risk. And how we originally were able to get them to say yes to it was that they wouldn't be taking the risk.
Right.
We would take on the risk.
You would take on the risk.
Yeah.
I mean, and
which is also not something that I think a lot of people will themselves to do. But I mean, for example, last year we sold close to 40,000 tickets to BYT events, using nothing but like our media, organic loyalty, and like our own channels.
I love the organic loyalty part.
Yeah.
You've mentioned several words that I think are really important. You've mentioned trust. You've mentioned community. You've mentioned loyalty. It's fascinating to me that you've been able to build this and develop this with some people whom you don't know their names, but they've been a part of this community.
Yeah,
some of you know them, but
I mean, they are
like
kind of like our friends and family, you know. And we hear. I mean, it's one of my favorite things is that, you know, obviously we've been doing it for a minute, so we've been part of certain people's lives for a minute. And, you know, it's always
now they're having kids. And stuff like that,
but
right?
also but also like, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, oh, I met my fiance at the thing, or like people had, you know, weddings in a place where like they went to a BYT event where they like met who they ended up marrying, or like I moved to DC and I hated it, and I like went to this, and you know, someone at work said I should go to this, and then I like met the person that I ended up like living with, and who became my best friend, and like it changed everything. So I mean, I would like to think that in some small way, right, like we make people's lives better, and they will remember that. You know, and keep thinking of us even outside of that context.
How did you come up with the the idea for the True Crime Festival that you put out? Was the first one last year? Yes. And now it's spread to New York.
Yeah. And we're going to do 3 markets in 2020. So there's going to be another one in DC again in November, and next year we'll be here playing. So I mean, all the events are content inspired, right?
Yes.
So like all the ideas always come from, you know, what we see, like does well on the site, what stories people are commenting on, what kind of social media content people are engaging it with, and we've been doing this comedy festival, which we like love. It's like our most favorite thing in the world, called the Benson Ball.
Yes, Benson Ball.
And we're like, how can we do? And it's like a very special little beast, right? Like it sort of fits like a certain kind of sensibility, like it occupies like a space in mind, like, and we're kind of like, how can we do more things like that, right? Like I mean, like kind of content-driven events are very popular, right? Like whether they're under the like thought leadership umbrella or like something else, but like how do you make like legitimately smart entertainment? And so we were like, okay, so comedy is something we all love, and obviously that space has evolved quite a lot, which has led itself to like an interesting festival. But like, what else do we talk about? What else? And Jen, who is now our True Crime Festival director, she was at the time one of the salespeople, literally like at a staff meeting, like, wrote a note on like a napkin, like passed it across, and it said True Crime Festival ? And we were like, yes.
It's
obviously,
done deal.
right?
Yeah, right.
I was like, we talk about it.
Yeah.
Everyone you know talks about it. Everyone has that one friend.
Yeah.
They like theorize. It's very kind of communal in like an interesting way. But people, there's like a convention, but we're kind of not convention people.
Right.
So why isn't there like the Benson Ball of True Crime? Like why isn't there like the Vulture Festival for True Crime or something, right? So like our super high quality, super curated space kind of has these unexpected, again, entry points to the genre. And I remember I was like, we have to do it now, or someone else is gonna like come up with this idea.
Yeah.
Because we were seeing,
the trend,
like the trend, and like obviously like, I mean, it went from a guilty pleasure to, you know, like really, really prestige, like talent making the content, you know, like, you know, at the time it was like Jordan Peele, like after Get Out, will be producing the Lorena Bobbitt documentary on Amazon Prime. That was like one of the like kind of headers of the, okay, so let's this.
And
so I remember I just like pulled, like, you know, we obviously have relationships, pulled some venues, and the only weekend we could get a venue of like the size we felt this deserved, which ended up being Listener, was the weekend after Benson Bowl. And we were like, okay, we're doing it. Like laughter, murder.
Oh my gosh. So you put on this huge event, and then you've got another thing
so we did a 14,000 person festival one weekend, and then an 8,000 person festival the second weekend, and we have a 2-person events.
2-person events team. Oh my gosh.
I mean, everyone works on everything, but and I mean, you know, it truly is like everyone really believed in the idea. Like we kind of had like a gut check that it would work. We wanted to do it sort of to prove a concept and see what could happen. So people worked outside of their like job descriptions, right, to just kind of figure out what makes like a good show.
Yeah.
Because, you know, one thing is to have like a popular podcast, or one thing is to watch like murder documentaries, like what is like a good show.
Right.
And how can we also, again, make the most of what DC has to offer to like amplify that message. So we did temporary exhibition with Library of Congress, where they brought out like some original materials. We did pre-events with Smithsonian. We worked with the Better Drinking Company and did their pop-up bar on 7th Street. That was like a true crime bar for the whole month of October. So basically just like a publicity stunt, but also like a really cool one. And then we ended up with like 8 shows that we felt were great, you know, like they appeal to older people, younger people, like people who, you know, there's so many different ways to approach the content with a sense of humor, with like an analytical mind, with like a whatever. So we really,
Layla's saying 2-person events team, I'm dead. Yeah, right. I know. It's crazy. I mean, I heard that and I'm like, how do you do that? How do you put these things on? And I can't even imagine. I mean, a lot of people, just the creative effort that would have to go into thinking up these ideas would be like enough. They would be like, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean,
you must have
I
a
tell
huge
everyone.
team. And
no, so now with the agency, there's 14 people total between the content, the events, the sales and business development, and very small. And I mean, the goal is to really just, I guess, I mean, we hired a partnerships manager around the festival season last year because we were just like, it's just like not gonna be possible to like survive or do anything with. And I remember he said, it's just like after Benson Bowl was over, which is really truly like running a comedy camp for 4 days, like my girls like stay at the hotel, like handfuls, like people, you know, into venues. We do all the stuff with them, like outside of the shows, like, you know, 17 events across 4 days, multiple places, all sorts of stuff, like press. And I was just curious, like, how did this group of people like come together? You know, like how did you like find each other to like make it for this? Because how could you not like, kill each other?
Exactly.
These 4 days, exactly. And I mean, I think they did sort of self-select weirdly, right? Obviously, over the years. Into, I mean, it takes like a certain kind of personality, someone who like doesn't ever want to be bored, doesn't ever want to like have like, I mean, they thrive on the excitement and the energy and, you know, seeing obviously what we achieve.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, everyone has an input. You can like create like a space for yourself. I mean, like as I said, like Jen is the United States' first ever true crime festival director, and you know, I truly do think that she was like born to do it. You know, and it just like happened that it took a couple years of working in like a different job to like maybe like land on the idea that she could like make her own and like live her dream. But I hope that that's sort of how they all see it. It's sort of like a dream job.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're identifying,
I mean, I hope they do, because obviously it's incredibly like a lot, incredible amount of work.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you don't want to. You're definitely not going to just throw ideas out there with the idea that like, oh, I kind of like this idea. Like it's only going to be the good ones because if you end up working on it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we are putting all the rest always forward, and I would say we are relatively, we've kind of seen it all. Like I kind of describe our attitude as like enthusiastic but not impressed.
Okay, can I play a game with you really fast? Okay, so I'm just gonna throw out. I'm gonna say like impressed or not impressed, and then you tell me like an idea. Okay, like for example, if we were brainstorming, you get it. Example. So an example. Okay, so we're sitting in an idea thing and like a meeting, and we're pitching ideas, and impressed would be like true crime thing. So you're like impressed, and not
because it captures.
Not impressed would be like
I don't know, like an influencer brunch.
An influencer brunch
or something, something that's like a non-measurable, like kind of like catchphrase.
Yes. Oh yes, like influencer brunch. That kind of combines it all together.
Right?
It's you're brilliant at this. You were made for this game, I think. Okay.
Yeah. Like that kind of stuff.
Well, okay, so one of the things that I wanted to ask you
I apologize to identify
everyone who loves brunch and influencers, or if you're an influencer who loves
we're trying to start a thing where we call people trusted sources
instead of
influencers.
Yeah,
because it's just, I mean, it's
just awful.
It means nothing.
And we have an idea.
I think that's the
we
problem.
have a very negative idea of what that is.
No, I think a lot of people have, I think a lot of people who think about it have a negative idea. And then I think a lot of people, like especially in marketing, right? Like where nothing works necessarily anymore. So you have to try everything just because it's sort of like this weirdly like, not like it's measurable, but it's like non-measurable.
Does nothing work, or does something always work? Is there something that you know is always going to get clicks? Like you're just like, okay.
I mean, aside from murder, which really does. I mean, it's quite outstanding. There's like a reason why, like everyone now has like true crime content on it, like from like fashion magazines to, like I mean, whole like networks are rebranding for it.
That's true.
There's some. It's like an uncertain time, and it feels somehow like cathartic to people to like be going towards some kind of solution or something like on a smaller scale. And it does. I mean, it truly is like the only thing that is like a guarantee. I mean, I do think that one thing I have noticed has always kind of been our strategy is, people kind of like being in rooms with people they like, people like working with people they like. So our plan always is to book everything, like every like talent, every collaboration, every interview, everything. Like yes, they need to be talented and they need to do all this stuff, but like, would you want to give them like a hug, right? So our entire like sensible booking strategy last year.
Would you want to give them a hug?
Kind of like that idea of like, the feeling people have, like, if I only was to meet her in person, we would for sure be friends.
Yay!
Right?
Yes.
So like
which is how I felt when I saw you earlier. Yes, for sure.
So that's sort of like the vibe we're trying to go for, right? So like our entire Invincible like booking strategy is based on that, right? Like it's not necessarily that the people we book at the time we know can sell 1,500 tickets or whatever, but we firmly believe that if like people are given the opportunity to be in a room with them, they will like jump at it. So like last year, we like went after like the Queer Eye guys and like Phoebe Robinson and Amanda Seales, and like to see what they have achieved in the last like 12 months or 15 months since we like booked them. But that effect was like very visible. Like it was like people like coming to see like Phoebe Robinson talk about her book as if they were coming to their friend's like house for like book club. They were like all like, yes, this, like when you talk about tampons, like that's how I feel about tampons, or like, or like, seeing Amanda Seales do like Smart Honey Wax, and yes, she's an insecure, and yes, she's been, working for forever, but like it's not about any of these roles. It's not about any kind of obvious visibility.
Right.
They just like want to be around her energy.
Have you ever gotten it wrong? Like, have you ever, like, even with people, if we talk about like getting the right energies and the right people in the room, like, have you ever thought this person's going to be amazing, and then they just turn out to be jerks? Or can you say?
No, I mean, obviously, like some people are sort of difficult.
Yeah.
Which is fair because life is difficult.
Yeah.
No, and I think have we had like the experience of it being to a point where we wouldn't want to have them there again,
right?
Or something like that. Like I think even people who were kind of a little difficult were, you know, professional and quite generous in some ways, and you know, other stuff. But I mean, definitely, I would say it is a gamble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because public persona is performative to some extent, and you don't really know. You know, like if you're giving so much to audiences or whatever else, like your private self could be quite different.
That's true. Have you? So, what are some things? What are some things that you've learned along the way that maybe in the beginning you didn't realize that these were critical, but they're like lessons you've learned along the way that have helped you?
I mean, like every day I learn something. I mean, if you think you know everything, right, like you're definitely going to fail.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the number one, and I mean, this is what we've been telling also people on the agency side forever. It's like you can have a plan, and you know, best laid plans and everything. But like the number one like thing you can like do to yourself at the beginning is to know that things will go off course. Like allow yourself
like what are you
to like
do
adapt
when
and nimble and whatever else, right? Like it's not like, oh, the plan is not working. No, like the plan just like needs to be adapted and changed. And you know, that's why we like don't have like we have like a couple kind of checkpoints for like a marketing plan when we put something new out, but like it completely takes shape by seeing how like people are going to react to it, seeing whether people are responding better to this kind of content through these two channels. And oftentimes people like don't like that strategy, like they don't like this sort of idea of adaptable strategy. But I do think that it is truly like the only way.
Have you learned a way to sell that better to people? Have you learned a way to make them feel safer with that? Because I feel like people would rather have a convenient lie, right?
Yeah.
Than the inconvenient truth. Sorry, Al Gore. But you know, like I feel like people would rather be told, this is our 5-step process, follow these steps, and you're 100% assured that it's all going to.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you are believing that, then you're like naive.
Yeah.
You know, belong to 2019, right? Because I mean, when you even just think about it, like 12 years ago when we started like the world word like hashtag didn't exist, right? Like the word millennial didn't exist. Like the notion of like something like New York Times being digital first was just like what?
You know? I remember. I know.
Yeah,
it's
like
crazy.
I mean, and it's not that long ago.
No.
You know, I mean, it's like a fully memorable like time for like a lot of people. Like people like, you know, who were born in the 90s. You know, like have active memories of this kind of stuff. And so, I think just the speed at which everything is moving, the only thing that can't be denied, right, is quality, right, and like engagement that hopefully comes from some kind of actual connection that is established. But I mean, what works for one project can't. I mean, there's no. I mean, there is no formula. Like, I think the only formula is like just like a willingness to like make it work, right? Like to kind of see what works, build on that, and everything else. I mean, at least in the spectrum that we are in, because you know everyone is very much like, okay, well, you have like your digital platforms. You have your like, you know, offline platforms, you have whatever. So like it's like a checklist. It kind of isn't, you know, like we are like even the same products get kind of launched slightly differently. Yeah. You know, and you know, like have like even things that seem very checklisty are not. So let's go into that a little bit more because you know, I look at the things that you're trying to do. We kind of trade in people actually taking action based on something, right? So whether they're going to buy a ticket, or they're going to go to a thing, or they're going to read this book, or they're going to do whatever.
You're
so
focused on that.
Not just like be
action.
aware of something.
Yeah.
So how do you go from someone being aware of something, which is what I feel like a lot of marketing tends to be, just kind of like, we're building brand awareness.
Yeah.
We're positioning it in this category.
And you're so like, no good. That's no good.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, like when you think about why do people make decisions to actually like buy something or use something or go somewhere or like talk to someone, it is personal, right? And
Absolutely.
And that's why a lot of people are adding, different values to their market propositions and different stuff, because it's just like an attempt for that connection. That hopefully then distinguishes my product, my brand, my whatever, from something that is very similar but is like missing this one connection point.
So interesting. So aside from murder, because we know that everybody's interested in murder all the time.
It's like shorthand for becoming friends with anyone in America right now.
I know. My husband, we watched the South Park that talks about murder porn, and so, which, by the way, it's not porn, it has murder. It's like, because you're watching murder on your TV. Anyway, so we talk about that all the time, but he'll put it on the weekends and stuff, and I'll be walking in like, oh, hey, murder porn. And I mean, like 3 episodes later, and it's like,
and the question is, we talked about it because the new Zac Efron thing just came out, right, where he plays Ted Bundy.
We watched it.
And but the big debate after Sundance was like, already this is this like really gruesome person, frankly, who already kind of has this weird, kind of like.
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it, no. Okay. But I was having this weekend. It premiered on Friday, right? It's on the list. My husband is like so over it.
Yeah.
He's like, this is just like, it's too much now. No, but anyway, so the big critic was that, like already Ted Bundy has this kind of like identity of like being attractive and kind of weirdly sexy, and like he used his charm versus like tricks and all this stuff. And so now you're gonna like cast like a heartthrob. And the big conversation was, has true crime finally crossed the line, right? Like into kind of this like extreme glorification, right? Like versus an awareness that this is people's lives or whatever. And Jen, whose name I keep mentioning, who truly is like a thought leader in the field, she was like, I was like, Jen, have you seen this stuff? And we were coming up on the New York Festival, which isn't our primary market, so it was very much like introductory, like introducing this idea and what this festival is, because it could be all sorts of kinds of true crime festival, right? It could be very tacky. It could be very like, right. So it's obviously not what we're kind of trying to put out. The top shelf.
I mean, that's an interesting point.
Fun, but it's, and so she was like, well, the one thing that no one has said is that by simply existing as entertainment, it has crossed the line. Right? Like the second, like Truman Capote wrote In Cold Blood, sold it for money. People read it to entertain themselves. It crossed the line. It was people's lives. It's used for entertainment. Like it is.
People profit. Profiting
from it. People are entertained by it without actually like actively thinking on like how that is. Like part of someone's life. And that's why I actually think a lot of the kind of comedy-centric murder podcasts do so well, because it allows that like sort of defense mechanism distance, from thinking that you are listening about actual people's lives.
I mean, I completely agree. I think that the psychology behind it, people need that sort of release valve to make it okay. Right? Like we're not bad people, and we're kind of like we're observing, and and I have to say, I watched it. I watched the Ted Bundy thing, not to go too far off on this topic, but I get why people.
The festival works. You can talk about it.
Right. I get why people say that, though. I think that we had a discussion about it in our home, and it's kind of it was like I think it was glorifying it, making and romanticizing him even beyond what I expected, and I'd read a little bit about before I watched it. And so you've got the murder, the true crime stuff that draws people in. Something like the Benson Ball, when you're trying to attract people and get an emotional response to them and get them, like, engage them and say, this is your kind of thing. How do you reach them and be like, make them think, oh, I belong there. This is where I belong.
I mean, definitely that kind of idea of personality is performing that they respond to. And then I think it has always been kind of like an outlier in terms of comedy, because it is positioned, again, in context of bigger picture conversations and lifestyle. So we actually maybe kind of primarily go after people that don't go to things like the DC Improv or like regular shows or whatever else, who kind of see comedy all the time, who are used to like a lot of stand-up.
Yeah.
We kind of call it like comedy plus, right? So there's like a lot of conversations, like music. We've done like food and comedy shows. We've done, I don't know, like, again, we build it so that it feels like this group of people in this time and space and moment in time, like can't be ignored together, right?
Yeah.
And in like a lot of ways, it's a gamble, because like people are either going to like emotionally respond to it, because we often don't have any like market research, right? Like a lot of times these
I was
people
going to
that
ask
are
you
not,
about that. Yeah.
I mean, you can do things like what have they played,
right?
What are they touring? But the second they become people that sell out those kind of rooms,
right,
we can't actually probably afford them.
Right. So it's better not to go there.
Yeah. I mean, we are very lucky that we get a lot of those people, because there's a lot of like positive energy around the festival, and comedians like to be with people they like themselves. So like a lot of them kind of invite each other as special guests, or have really positive memories from being at it 10 years ago when they weren't really famous, or, we kind of play on the emotional heartstrings of, the Jim Gaffigans of the world, who definitely don't need to be doing anything for less than like Madison Square Garden. I think as with everything, we always ask ourselves, like, is this like worth, both your time and money? And sounds very like non-scientific. I do think we like know what we're doing. Yeah. It just, and I do think it is very much informed by the fact that 365 days a year we produce content.
Right.
That is about arts and culture.
So you feel like you've got a handle on, your fingers on the pulse of what's going on, what people are interested in, and you're getting feedback on that regularly. So you're not going to be totally far off, or are you?
No, I mean, again, I do think, it's some magical combination of what are their personal marketing platforms, what kind of pseudo-empirical proof we have based on like the content we can run with some of these people, or have seen other, like kind of organic excitement around them, around certain projects or whatever else. And then how do they fit into the idea of like the festival as a whole, because it's important that individual shows don't like cannibalize each other, but like work well together to create a bigger whole.
So how do you deal with that? Because in DC there is a ton that's going on, and certainly you make friends and have these relationships with venues and event planners and all kinds of different people, but there's only so many days in a year. So how do you do that? Do you run into trouble where you're like, I don't want to cause this person or cause this venue or whatever an issue if we hold something the same time, or not so much? Is that not?
I mean, we really don't do that much.
Okay.
Like to a level where I think
you'd have
someone who does things regularly would think of us as spontaneous. So I would say we do probably like 5 or 6 kind of museum type events, and then we do these 2 festivals. So that's like a total of like 14 days a year, maybe.
Yeah.
That something happens. And
So that's not too bad.
Yeah, and we are incredibly generous with our time, and like the brightswingthings.com is a platform. We'll write about everything. Like we have this big National Geographic event on Friday, and it won't be that when the weekend guide comes out, Friday we'll just have our event. We'll say all the other things as well, and we just hope and trust that the audience chooses us.
Yeah.
But we are, like it kind of has to feel fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
To everyone. We've never had anything like that.
How does somebody, because now you have exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's an association that's out there that is thinking, wow, they're doing the kinds of things that we want to be doing, how do they know that the agency is the right agency for them?
Yeah, so we built exactly, it's kind of like a slightly, almost like a disruptor agency value proposition, because we obviously work with relatively large companies, brands, institutions, etc., which tend to then naturally work with other large agencies, right? And so your sort of brand message or your goals or whatever else that you have, right, that you're trying to execute through these agencies or internally, end up being stuck in these like funnels that as a result, by the time they come out to be like public facing or B2B facing or whatever it like needs to be, are actually kind of like out of touch, right? Like everything moves so fast,
right?
And a lot of these kind of big name like legacy agencies, etc., were not built for like agility and responsiveness and like cultural like nimbleness. And you end up seeing like these things where people just feel like they've like missed the boat by like a year,
right?
On something, like I mean,
because it takes forever, and this planning, and especially when you look at like conferences, these things are like planned years in advance. Sometimes the content
and so like it's like to not, and I do think that it like the world moves at a different pace, and I think therefore like the agencies need to kind of adapt to that, which is like a hard conversation to have with a lot of people, right? Because for all the reasons, right? Like people like working with people they like, people have been working with people for forever. But the goal also exactly isn't, I mean, we have all the capabilities that like a traditional like sort of creative solutions agency would have, right? From content production and to experiential production strategy, like to media buying and amplification, like basically everything we do for ourselves internally with UAT. But we're not calling it like a full service agency, we're not calling it like a digital agency, we're not calling it an experiential agency. I'm kind of calling it an engagement agency.
Yeah.
So that's what we sort of that's the goal. It's like the goal is to hopefully provoke like a reaction and action versus just do something. I think the dynamic of how you do that has changed substantially and kind of needs a different kind of agency.
I tell you, like associations, you need to think about this, because I mean that's
why we called it exactly, because it's exactly what's been missing. No, I mean the amount of meetings where you go in and you do like, I mean it has to also be a somewhat self-aware, right? Which I think is good if it makes people smile. But I mean the amount of times people go in and it's like, okay, here's our like list of things that we spend like $80 million on, and like all we're trying to do is like move the dial on this one thing, and like all and would all so much is like spent on like maintaining and whatever, that we don't have the capability to like do something that is in the moment. I always use the example like that, and if everyone's aware of that go-go music crisis that happened with the band we said, I was like, how did like T-Mobile not come out of that like the very moment? And I was there sponsoring the DC Punk Parade or like throw like a fake concert.
And instead they're like, oh, we don't want to,
So then there's like kind of like some kind of statement and something and like.
I know,
But
it was
like,
so crazy.
Like,
I mean, this is a chance to go.
but that is
and be
because
like,
you know it's like someone is like in the cloud somewhere, and then there's like
Right.
an agency also where like the person who has the power to make a decision to mobilize things like effectively. Also, there's like 10 days to get
this
to
is
that
the
person.
perfect moment for grassroots.
Yes.
Like, let's bring this community
but
together.
It didn't even need to be like that, like grassroots. It was just like I mean, it could have been fully planned. Like this,
Yeah.
you can totally execute something like this, like plan to like finish within like 48 hours. Like the talent is here, the space is here. Like you have all those things. You have to kind of connect some logistical dots, and like create like a narrative behind it that is you. But like in the end, they just like issued a statement.
I know. It was kind of depressing.
And moved on.
And boring.
And boring.
And boring. Yeah.
And this is also currently like, I mean, a brand that is supposedly like disruptive. And,
I know. Well, they have a lot of pink, and they like, at least their outfits look different when I see it, like when I walk past that's visibly,
but
they just,
yeah,
they missed an opportunity for sure. How do you know when you guys, obviously with that kind of situation, you immediately latched on to, this is what they should do. This is such a great opportunity. You can totally mobilize this. How do you have these ideas and see these things over and over again and then hold yourself back or like, and not follow every great idea that you have?
Well,
right?
I mean, obviously there's a trillion ideas in the world. And what makes it into actual reality is obviously just a fraction of that. I don't know. I think, that's like a right idea for T-Mobile in that time and space. And, we maybe could have pitched it or something, but, to like kind of go and execute. But I don't know, like I feel like for us, we are, for stuff we care about personally, like internally, like so like things, I think we do jump on any like things we're excited about, we're there, like we will make a festival happen, on like a couple months notice, and we won't like try and play it safe and extend it like 4 extra months or some extra planning or something. But yeah, I mean, in the end, some things go into the bucket. Like, I mean, again, the world moves so fast that there will not be like a lack of responsive ideas. Ever. The key now is how not to just like be part of conversations, like genuinely, but like those kind of moves start conversations.
Right. That is a great topic for another day.
Okay.
So we're kind of nearing the end of our time. And if anyone has questions, if anyone wants to ask a question now, go ahead and type in the chat. Those of you who are listening or watching later, sorry you missed it. And so, but you can write in and I can try to get answers for you. In the meantime, while you guys are formulating your questions, if you have any, what's the best and worst part of what you do? Like what your actual job is in all of this now? What's the thing that you love to do and what's the thing that you hate to do?
So the worst part is that every job that exists in the company is like a job I did before we hired a person for it. And I'm still like in a weird way, like almost too accessible to like people we have worked over years. So like it's just like someone has to like start playing defense on my behalf. And then I mean the other bad part of that is that like I don't get to do some of the stuff why I started doing this, right? Like making the content or like actually like brainstorming about some of this stuff. I'm primarily in charge of keeping us alive. And then, but the best part is that like truly I can look at like what we've done and who we worked with and everything else, and I can say that we never compromised. Like we only did things we wanted to do, and we made them work. So we like built an entire. I mean, like I am genuinely excited about the things we do 12 years later. Like I'm not like another one, you know, or like another day. And I think that, you know, like this is like the only thing I want to do, which is pretty great.
That is pretty great. It will lead
I mean,
me.
it has obviously evolved.
Yeah.
With me and us and stuff, you know, like that Creative Mornings book you mentioned, that was like a total commitment, but
yeah,
I was like, it's a total commitment to like evolving.
I mean, over 12 years later,
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say you're committed to this. Since it's the thing that you love to do, and one of the big issues in society today is that all of us are too involved in our work. We don't separate it and take time to actually breathe and relax. How do you, when you're passionate and love what you do, you know, how do you take time to step away from it? Can you?
Well,
do you?
I mean, I think it's, you know, obviously if you work in that space, that does touch on like things that you enjoy also as a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy for those two things to bleed into each other, right? Like, am I watching this Dead Body documentary for research, or because I actually genuinely am a fan of the genre or something?
Right.
I don't know. I think I'm actually like pretty good at that. We like really have like pretty strict policies about like not emailing after hours, you know.
That's
not
awesome.
being like
you do?
accessible.
Is that an actual policy?
Yeah, like no, I mean there's you know, it's a,
my husband needs to hear that.
Yeah, it's like a really, really hardworking day.
Yeah.
But when you leave, you left.
Yeah.
You know, obviously like an emergency will happen or something, but like kind of surprising how you can see how like how much less these emergencies will happen when like people know that like they can wait till 9. You know, like I mean, whoever is emailing you, you know, 10 at night can wait until the next morning to be answered.
I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, I take like a very real like European vacation every year in August. Like I leave for a month. We call it my evacuation vacation. I read with no TV, no screens.
Mm-hmm. So nice.
Yeah.
How
I read
do you
like
do that?
23 books last year during it, because you just like read and swim and reset your system.
I'm going on vacation.
Yeah. No, it's like there's traveling and then there's vacation. It's important that you actually have vacation.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I mean, there's like no distractions in my workday, like in terms of just, I mean, we're working.
Just go.
Yeah. Like, so I don't, you know, I'm still very much like subscribed to like, you know, the Sunday New York Times and like magazines and things like that, because I do use them to actually catch up. Like I don't necessarily spend like wild amounts of time on the internet, like, you know, kind of not wasting time, but kind of like doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I think like if you are able to like focus on your work when you need to focus on it, I think you are able to also then focus on private time.
So that's interesting to hear that. Yeah. Do you?
Definitely took me time to get there. This isn't like I.
How long did it take you to get there? Because like
it wasn't like, well, I mean, I would say the first 4 years of doing VYT full time. I think I called like vacations, you know, like a long weekend somewhere, you know, or something, whatever like those things are, which are always more stressful.
Yes, because you're always worried.
And then I remember my mom, who's like a medical doctor and like a PhD in public health and like saving lives like her entire life. She was like, I take vacations, and I was like, that is correct.
Yes.
Like,
so she's literally saving lives and can take vacation. That means you should be able to too.
And then I did it, and we didn't go like under.
Nothing happened. It was bad.
Yeah.
And you probably felt revived when you came back and inspired.
Much better person to be around.
Yeah.
Which works better for the business.
Well, I think you're a great person to be around. And I'm very thankful that you took the time to talk with Association Chat with me today. And thanks to all of you for watching. I hope you learned something new that you can use every day. And as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So I hope you have a fantastic week, everyone. Keep learning.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Yay.
Yay.